Hello and welcome to the Nope Coach podcast. I'm your host, Suzanne Culberg. This is episode 267. Never put yourself in financial stress to buy a course. Last week, for those of you, for a point of reference, if you're new, this is a daily podcast up until day 365. Then we will see. But this is a daily show. Last week, I put in a segment, I called it Sunday Snarks, because Sundays tends to be my least downloaded, listened to day. Someone said to me yesterday, hey, where was the Sunday Snark? And I was like, oh, I forgot about that. So, point of reference, if you listen to this show or any show and there is something that you like, let the person know. Comment on their videos, send them a message. So for reference, if you're watching this on YouTube, please comment below, like, subscribe to the channel. If you're listening to an Apple Podcast, Spotify, whichever platform, send me a message, info@suzanneculberg.com. What did you enjoy? When you let me know what you like, I can do more of it. So I did last week's Sunday Snark, didn't really hear anything, thought, oh, well, went about my merry way. And then I was like, I get a message, where's the Sunday Snark? And I was like, oh, yeah, so that to say, if you like something, let people know because we're not mind readers. Anyway, today's topic. I realize it's not Sunday. It is now Monday Snark. Or maybe it would just be, I'm feeling stabby and when I want to have a rant about something. But this is to say, never put yourself in financial stress to buy a course. I run an online business. I see so many people putting themselves through so much stress and drama and crediting themselves up to the hilt and spending everything because this course, this is going to be the one that saves me. And the reason I can speak so passionately to this is because I've been there. And it's what's marketed to us. When I very first started a business back in 2017, I had no idea what I was doing business-wise. Delivery, the content of what I was doing, 100%. But in terms of client acquisition, how to link the Zoom link to the appointment type, how to take payments, like the business side of things, I really didn't know what I was doing. And as any person would, I went looking for help. The more help I got in my business, the less I started to love it. Because once I did one thing, it was like literally opening up a can of worms or a never-ending rabbit hole. Because, my very first investment in my business was having a paid scheduler. Because before that, all I'd done is people would email me. And, we'd have this email back and forth, which is not, do not recommend. It's time consuming. Also, you say I'm available Tuesday at 5 and then you don't hear back from them for 3 days. So you assume they don't want it. You sell that spot to someone else and they come back going, I want it, or whatever. So, there are some things in business that maybe I could do a breakdown of like things that I highly recommend. But one is a scheduler, ability to take payment and an ability to deliver. So like, Zoom or a platform or whatever. But from there, it became like a case of the never-ending story. It was like, you need a website, then you need to be SEOable, then you need a Facebook presence, then you need to be on Instagram, then you need to be on LinkedIn, then you need drool-worthy headings, and then you need a hook, and then you need a freebie, and then you need, and on and on and on. And of course, the more you start, because people are always going to be trying to sell you their thing. You need excellent copy. You need click-worthy headlines. You need this, you need that. And it gets to a point where, I don't know about anyone else, but for me, you're like, oh, this isn't that much. You start small, but the investments start to get bigger and bigger and bigger, as do the promises. And then you hear the stories of, I was on the bare bones of my ass, and then I got a credit card and maxed it, and now I'm a millionaire living the seven-figure lifestyle, laptop lifestyle on the beach, and so on and so forth. And often those are the worst ones of the lot, because when you buy them, the strategy they give you is something that makes you like die inside. It's like, yeah, just cold DM 100 people, or, what do they call it? The 100 list. You get pen and paper and brainstorm everybody you've ever known in your entire life and start saying to them, hey, I got a business, want to buy my thing? And all these gross, disgusting things that, you wouldn't want to be on the receiving end of. So if you wouldn't want to be on the receiving end of the strategy, why do you even consider doing it? Maybe these Sunday snarky rants will become a thing, because obviously I have a lot of content. But bringing it back to stay on topic for today, never put yourself in financial stress to buy a course. It can be tempting. It can look so good. You can hear the story of the rags to riches and the person who, borrowed money from their neighbor, or got a credit card, or put out a line of credit, or, used their last dollars and couldn't afford their next meal and didn't know where their rent was going to come from. But this course was the end. I do not recommend, because for everyone who has that story, how many have done the same and ended up fucked? Like, I was going to apologize for swearing, and I was like, hang on, this is my show. I'm a sweary fairy. But we don't hear those stories. Why? Because they don't sell things. Why? Because they're not in business anymore. Why? Because, that is not a fantasy story that's going to sell more books or courses or whatever it is. This year, 2024, we're not even a full month in, and so many of like colleagues, friends, people who I grew up entrepreneurially with have said, I'm out. I'm going to get a job, or I've gotten a job, or I've got a part-time job and I'm trying to grow my business on the side. And, and there's nothing wrong with that. Obviously, look after yourself 100%. I've got nothing wrong with being traditionally employed, but how many of them are burnt out and exhausted and overdrawn physically, mentally, emotionally, monetarily, because they've put it all on the line, because they've bought a dream that ended up not being a dream? The thing to think about when you're looking at these courses that are being marketed, and person saying, the rags to riches, I was living in my car and eating out of a garbage bin and now I own an island kind of thing. Don't laugh if you haven't heard them, because they happen. Most of these people don't disclose the help they've had from others. Most of these people don't acknowledge the privilege they've had, which has genuinely given them a head start. So, like, in terms of growing a business, I have been very upfront about the fact that I have a husband who is traditionally employed, whose income carries our family, and I am so grateful for that. I've made some decisions in my business. Like, if you haven't listened to it, the Quiet Rebels podcast by May K. Sang, I did an episode with her about change. I can't remember the title of it, but if you go May K. Sang, Suzanne Culberg, you should be able to find it, the Quiet Rebels podcast. If you can't find it, send me an email, info@suzanneculberg.com. I'd find the link. But I spoke on that show about how when I pivoted my business from one-to-one coaching to group coaching, I hamstringed my income. And if it hadn't been for my husband's support and his income, I don't know what I would have done. I would have had to close my business and go and get a job stat, because, these people online with their courses and their magic pills and their quick fixes are like, just do this and you'll be six figures in 60 days or whatever bullshit that is. And they may have one or two cover stories or testimonials of people who have done it. But how many of those people were legitimately in the circumstances they said they're in? How many of them had a huge network and a huge support system that they just never turned around and asked before? And how many of them, for how many of their touting have done that, have also put their last dollar into this course and now have nothing to show for it, and are, traditionally employed with huge debt and bad credit rating? So all that to say, never put yourself in financial stress to buy a course. There will be others. You can bootstrap it, bootleg it, nut it out, Google it, figure it out. Like, I'm not saying don't buy courses. I run courses. That's how I make my money. It's what my business is. But I don't want anybody to put themselves in stress to be in there. First of all, because, of all the reasons I've just highlighted. And second of all, if you're in that much stress, mentally, how much are you getting from the course? Because you're like, I can't pay my bills. Where's my next meal going to come from? How am I going to feed my kids? How much are you truly able to participate and receive and be present in that program if you've got everything on the line? Look after your needs and your family's needs first. And from that place, go the extra. There are so many free things available. There are podcasts such as this one. This is not a business building podcast by any means, but there are free ways to connect with people. There are books. If you can't afford the book, you can go to a library. There is so much available for you that, the thing I'm trying to say is the course, the coach, the program is not going to save you. It's not the answer. You already have everything that you need. And when you're feeling in those stages of overwhelm and stress and like everything's on the line, they're not great places to be making decisions, especially, big life changing decisions about, what you're going to be doing for income and those kind of things. So whenever I hear someone saying like, I was down to my last dollar and I was on the bare bones of my ass and look at me now. I I don't think that's a way to be proposing that other people should do it. Some people share from a legitimate way, like I did it this way, do not recommend. Like if you listen to my podcast Share with Make, this is how I transitioned my business, do not recommend. If I had my time again, this is how I do it differently. But I think we should be listening to more of those voices rather than the ones saying, this was the thing, this is going to be the answer, because there's no one thing, program, person, coach, course that's going to be the answer. For most of the time, it's just legitimately keeping on day after day in times when it's hard, keeping working through it and knowing that you're going to get there in the end. Thank you so much for listening. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope to see you on the next one. Bye for now.